The way I remember it, when I went to Kansas with a bow the first time in 2011, Scott and I, or was that 2010? I don't know. It was 2010 or 2011. I believe it was the 2011 season, though. Yeah, it was the 2011 season. I filmed Scott in 2010 in Kansas. I didn't have Kansas, and it was different different type of terrain. But in 2011, I had 3.5 days in Kansas. We were more weekend war, whatever time. We didn't have a lot of time back then. So between him and I, we had 7 days. He had a different part of Kansas. I had a different part. We split it down the middle, 3.5 days. My area happened to have a lot of like cattails and grass. And a lot of the cattails were short enough you could actually kind of stalk these deer in. And I ran into troubles because in a lot of situations there wasn't enough, and they were very difficult to get close to in that particular setting. And I had three good bucks that I would have been very happy with, 3-year-olds or better, for 3.5 day window that slipped through the cracks on me. And all three of them, I think I clean missed all three. They were high intensity situations where I just if I would have just had something to buy myself a few, 2 extra seconds, wouldn't have had to rush the shot, things like that, and that's another thing. It's like, once you get enough experience, and like Chansey is phenomenal at this, reading, like, once they got you pegged, exactly how much time you got. And it's like, you can sit there and try to train yourself as an archer to like, just slow it all down. But if you've got enough experience as a hunter, you can read that animal and you're like, I ain't got 4 seconds.
Right.
It's now or never, So anyways, here again, getting sidetracked a bit, getting back to the decoy. I needed something to buy some time a bit. We actually went to tried to find just some flat cardboard on that hunt to cut something out, but I'm no artist like Chansey, and Chansey can do that. He can just whip something up that looks like a deer decoy in a matter of minutes out of a piece of cardboard, and has done that, and it has worked. However, I'm not, nothing we put our heads together worked with on that. We had a short window. The next year, that's when I had the idea for the decoy. And Chansey had been doing this and talking about this with turkey, what he did with turkeys. Using the decoy to, obviously a whitetail is going to be trickier to pull that off with, but I was like, this might actually work. And it beats, I'm 0-3 on those situations. So I might as well try. Now the next year we broke it out, and it didn't work. And I think, I had people that thought it was a joke when they seen it in the video. I was trying to do what we were doing. And I caught some things in the video when I was editing it that I was like, okay, these are the changes we need to make to this decoy. And we made those, and then it might work. We'll run a higher probability for sure. And so we did those changes to that decoy. Shay did put some fur and kind of put a deer head on it, and that's what I knew we needed. That to once I saw the video footage of what was going on, there was just too much shine and sheen, and then you were drawing attention to yourself on a buck that was locked up with a doe, and now it's just like, now you can't even get close to break the threshold to where he'll come in. And it just, that I learned quite a bit in that 2012 with that first generation.
Yeah. Let me interrupt you real quick there. You said the threshold, and that's kind of one of the points I want to get at from my own experience is I feel like a lot of people think you get to a certain distance, let's say 400 yards, and you hold up the decoy and the buck's going to come running in. My experience has been, if it's a buck locked down with a doe, you need to get close enough where that buck wants to fight you, because bucks typically are kind of like elk. You show a decoy too soon, or you call too soon, they'd rather push the does or the cows away from you than come fight you, right? So what's the distance you found where they're more likely to come investigate than they are to run the doe off?
Just one of them special old ornery bucks that just loves fighting.
Yeah.
It's risky business. And that exactly what you just said there. That's one thing, it worked really well for us in 2013. And then, there was a few-year period there where, it was like, it's it's still just a tool that sometimes it's maybe not the best to use it at all. Sometimes, it's like you got to read the situation and read the animal. And I mean, there's definitely many times we've watched a buck that's locked down with a doe that has satellite bucks coming in. And it's like, okay, this one doesn't let him get within 70 and he's coming. So there's my threshold. Now this one's letting him get all the way to 20, 25. I mean, you're not going to have, or even closer on times. And that's that threshold. Every buck has a different tolerance level of what that threshold is. So sometimes you don't have those satellite bucks around to be able to gauge where that threshold is. And so I generally, if I'm going to use the decoy, I generally like to do exactly what you said. Go in as if he doesn't know you're there. Get as tight as you can before popping that up and break that threshold generally. Now, it won't be the next video coming out. It'll be the one after. And now Tanner did something with, but he used it from a long ways out. And in that situation, he had to. He couldn't do it any other way. And it worked. He worked, he did it just didn't push things too much, but it ended up working. And he killed an old buck. It's not a high scoring buck, but it was a gnarly old, probably weighed 260 field dress mega,
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Both him and Chancey, the one I call it the Arnold Schwarzenegger. I figured that one was 270. I mean, the way they looked, the bodies were so built up in they must have been into a pocket where the genes ran really, really phenomenal for heavy body weight right there. But anyways, it worked on that. And Chancey killed one similarly to that as well. But yeah, as far as that decoy goes, it can burn your ass or watch my French here. We're live, right? But it can burn a guy too. And so, we realized it's just another tool, right. It's like, it's like a grunt tube or a snort wheeze or a rattling horns or whatever it might be. That's a tool bag for the hunter. It's like not always going to work, not always going to be the right situation to use it. Timing's got to be right. The doe can't be too edgy. If the doe really loves the buck she's with, she's going to be like, she's going to see it coming from a ways away and be like, I'm getting out of here. I don't want nothing to do with this. Maybe she's been irritated by a bunch of bucks that she didn't want to be with. And then, this buck she found she liked, and she's sick of pissing around and she just doesn't want to deal with it. And a lot of times the doe is the one that doesn't like it. But we've seen it flip the other way too, where she's like, maybe not too, maybe she's still trying to upgrade with the buck, and she's like, ooh, who are you moving in? Like every doe's different, so.